Right. Right.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today called Are We There Yet? A Musical Journey Around the Globe. I'm excited to have you with us and excited to share some information about our program and using it in Piano Maestro. Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today called Are We Sorry about that. So I'd like to start off with just a few screenshots and then we'll take you into the program. So for those of you who I may not know, my name is Michelle Sisler and I live in Owatonna, Minnesota, and I'm happy to be presenting from my home studio this morning. And here in Owatonna, I teach private piano and group piano, and I'm the owner of Keys to Imagination, and where we publish and write a variety of programs and materials. Now, of course, I can't do this alone, so I do want to also introduce Dr. Deborah Brenner, who I believe is on as well. And Deborah has been instrumental in this program, and she has been great at writing this program and deciding what this world music should encompass. And so with her expertise, we are bringing you this webinar today as well as the program. Now, America's culture can be described as a patchwork quilt in which various ethnic communities contribute to the national culture as they maintain distinct identities. Now, the U.S. is comprised of an extremely diverse population with people from more than 100 world cultures residing here. Multicultural music education reflects this cultural diversity of the world by promoting a curriculum that includes songs, instrumental selections, and listening experiences representative of a wide array of cultures. Through music, people from places with varying backgrounds come together to learn about these different cultures, appreciate each other, and better understand the people they meet. Now, world music also allows students the opportunity to hear and compare concepts from various countries to their classical pieces. For example, the beautiful colors of the gamelan led Debussy to create new sounds that showed off the possibilities of the piano.
There's no changes
in Okay. So one hears the gongs move in the lower range of the piano as a melody moves in the middle and faster notes are heard above. Students also learn that Debussy was influenced by the Javanese gamelan instruments of Indonesia after his visit to the Paris World Fair in 1899. Let's see what we're seeing. Oops. So world music demonstrates concepts that apply to both world music and classical music. You know, for example, in the African chapter that we're going to look at today, students learn about polyrhythms, call and response, and syncopation. And here you'll see an example of Greg's Versus from Lyric Pieces and Liszt's Consolation number 3, which are clear examples of syncopation and polymeter. Now, beyond piano and the music, there are many benefits of a multicultural approach to music education, such as receptive to all types of musical expression, to discover new ways to construct music, increase the ability to perform, listen to, and appreciate many types of music. Students become open to trying new things, and it introduces new and extends their vocabulary. Music curriculum may be effectively used to correlate almost every subject. In the real world, individuals do not deal with areas of knowledge discretely. There is no place in the brain marked science or social studies or math. Since our behaviors are not segmented, neither should the educational experiences, especially at the elementary level.
There's no slide changes.
Still no time. So I'm hearing that there's no slide changes. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to get that fixed here. Not sure what's quite happening here.
If it's a PowerPoint, you need to switch the presentation mode.
Switch the presentation mode.
That's what she said. If it's a PowerPoint.
It is. Sorry about this. We're just trying to get a technicality worked out here with the PowerPoint. So I'm sorry about this. You'll have to, can you ask her? All right, well, while we're getting that fixed, I'll go on to the next information, and we'll try to get this fixed for you. I'm sorry about that. And since we shouldn't segment the educational experiences and shouldn't pull things apart, and the schools are getting really good about trying to do this interdisciplinary way of teaching, the most effective approach coordinates the study of people and their music through an integrated curriculum. Through this interrelated study of many aspects of a culture, students develop new and important understandings of people, and they begin to realize the importance of music and the arts in other cultures. So using a program that we're going to look at today called Are We There Yet? A Musical Journey Around the Globe, you are able to bring an expert into your studio or classroom through slides, videos, photos, games, puzzles, piano music and boomwhacker music and rhythm music to teach students about the people, the places, and the music of these countries. Now, this entire program is done for you, and so that will save you a ton of planning and preparation time. And there are currently 6 countries available. So let me switch over and I'll show you those countries that are available. And we'll take a look at the program. Just a second, Brianna. Get rid of that. There we go. Okay.
She said usually F5.
Okay. So there are currently 6 countries in Are We There Yet? A Musical Journey Around the Globe. And they are Africa, Canada, Korea, Thailand, Australia, and the United States. And we also have another 6 countries in development. Now, there are several ways to structure using this program. Each country has about 4 to 6 hours of content. And so you can pick and choose what works in your schedule. A couple of ways that I have done it is that I taught this program at the Gifted and Talented Institute here in Minnesota, and I was given 3 hours per day for 5 days. Now, each day our focus was a different country. So for example, Monday we learned about Canada, Tuesday was Thailand, and etc. Now, this was a class where some kids could read music and some couldn't. So what I picked to do was it varied from my piano students. Now, I've also taught this in group lessons in my studio. So here we had 3 hours per day, and we held class once a week for 6 weeks. I actually did it in the summer, so we had 2 in June, 2 in July, and 2 in August, and we were able to cover all 6 countries. Now, my students were grouped by similar piano levels. So we selected songs and crafts to fit the time we had and performed with boom whackers, rhythm instruments, and the piano. Now, some teachers have used this and they've created longer camps with up to 6 hours a day. And there they have a lot more time to cover more concepts and spend more time on the songs that are in the program. Now, the benefit to giving the longer time is you can also have students can also enjoy making the crafts a little bit more, and you can bring in some extra income for a longer camp. And one other way, and you'll see when we look at the program in just a second that you can use the program, is in a tech lab. So my students have a half-hour lesson, half-hour lab, and they complete this independently during that lab time. So let's take a look at the Africa chapter.
Click slideshow on menu, then do play from
So this curriculum is a series, as we mentioned, of 6 different countries, and we're going to take a look at the Africa chapter. And so the first thing we do is welcome the students to the country. And here I would ask students what they know about Africa and kind of get a discussion going. Now, we really wanted students to fully understand the music, and in order to do that, they need to understand the culture, the people, and the places. And so we start with a map where students need to find the country we are studying. And here they'll just click the answer and it will tell them if they've gotten it right. And then we look at the geography of the specific country. Now, all questions are interactive, showing students whether they answered correctly, and it will give a score at the end of all the questions in the unit. So for example, we can answer West Africa here, and it will tell us that it's correct. And as I mentioned, there are about 4 to 6 hours of content per country, so we'll be skipping around and just showing you some highlights because we don't want to turn this into a 4-hour webinar. So each day, the first thing that we did is we created a flag of the country with construction paper, markers, glue, scissors, and we hung them on the wall to create decorations. So you can talk about the flag and what they're making as they do that. Go to the next. And then they get to assemble the flag using a digital puzzle. So here they're just clicking and dragging pieces to form that flag. Like that. And of course, to go along with that, we have the national anthem. There's a video and audio so that you can actually teach that song to them if you'd like. Now, using the slides and the photos and the text in the program, I took them on a tour of the places they might visit if they actually went on a trip to the country that we're studying. So each slide features a script for teachers, video links, and directions for the activities and the crafts. Now, if you have been to any of these places, this is a great time to share those stories. And even ask students to share their stories if they've been there or have parents or relatives that have, and maybe they even have items to bring in and share. So as we discussed earlier, we can teach many of the important theory skills our students need, such as call and response, polyrhythms, and syncopation through this interdisciplinary program. So world music offers many opportunities to help students to count and clap off the bench and then apply it to their music. So for example, if we were teaching polyrhythms, we could teach it off the bench in this program, and then they could apply it to their music. Now, African music and African rhythms are a really fun way to do this. Students in this chapter will learn how to clap and count 2 against 3, which are cross rhythms, count syncopated rhythms, and identify these in their music. Now, my role as a piano teacher is to be sure that each new concept that I teach has been heard, seen, and done a number of times before I assign a piece with that element. So therefore, once a concept is taught, we can apply this to their music. And I have an example of what I did with some students in Cheche Kule. We worked on this pattern separately, so they practiced it alone, and then we just did this with some actions. So I have a video I want to show you of them doing that. And then they went through that, repeated that song. So this song can be taught simply with singing and the movements as we did first there. You could add boom whackers, rhythm instruments, or teach it on the piano. Or you can use a combination to achieve the hear, see, do method that we talked about. So folk music is really and especially effective in teaching this music because it usually originates from the common people of the country. In Africa, games are passed down from generation to generation, so modern children will still use the same head, shoulders, and hip movements as their grandparents did. So whether you are teaching in a classroom or a group, and that could be in summer, as a summer camp, studio classes, or something else, you can work on concepts using boom whackers. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with boom whackers are color-coded pitched tubes. And boom whacker music is included in this program so that you can use boom whackers in your studio. So now the music is written out in several different ways. One of them is color-coded. And this is especially helpful if you have students that aren't able to read music yet, or not very well, or you have beginners. So in this case, the colors coordinate with the color boom whacker tube that they have, and they're going to play their color. They can still do the rhythms that we worked on. They can still feel the syncopation, but they're, again, working on it off the bench. There is a black and white version included, and there's also a version included with individual parts. So it's written out like a band or an orchestra score where they only see their part. So for example, if they have G, they will see in the first measure here, G, G, and then they'll see a rest and then the G again. So here they can really focus on counting and learning the rhythms. And all of these can be played with accompaniments. All of the accompaniments are included in the program. And as you'll see in Piano Maestro in a little bit, you'll hear those accompaniments as well. Now, of course, another important piece of this is the instruments that we used. So for example, in the Africa chapter, one of the instruments we teach about is the kora. And we wanted students to really see and hear these instruments. So we included videos, and they are all in Safe Share so that you don't have to worry about any ads coming up or any inappropriate pop-ups coming up. And there you will see somebody playing the instrument, and they get to see it and hear it as well. Now, another one of the instruments that we teach in the Africa chapter is the rain stick. And we often think of the rain stick as being a South American instrument, but it actually originated in Africa. And so once we talk about the rain stick and watch a video about it and get to hear it, there's actually a craft to make a rain stick. Now, all of the crafts are made from household items. So these are simple crafts that you can do. The rain stick happens to be made from wrapping paper tubes. Some of the other ones use just egg cartons and items you have at home, like your paint and your markers. And all the instructions are included on how to make those. And what I found with the crafts is the kids really enjoyed the crafts. When we were writing this program and had kids come over to do the crafts, they just didn't want to leave. They wanted to spend time doing this. So make sure to make time for at least one craft in your program. There are many interactive activities. So after we get through all of the different instruments, for example, there is a matching game where they have to match the instrument with its name. And this just really helps reinforce what they've been learning. So here they're just clicking on the squares and seeing if they can match. Oops. Now, throughout the program, students are also completing listening activities in their passport. And so here they're learning to listen to music, analyze, and describe the music. So here we would play the piece for them, and then on the following slides, there are questions that they answer about their pieces. And here again, it gives them feedback, whether it's correct, so they can work on this independently if they need to. So here's another question: what instruments do you hear? And they have to select the different instruments they hear. So there's about 5 listening questions per piece. And there's also a passport that's included that you can print off if you want students to actually do physical writing activities with this, in combination of the interactive ones that are included or instead of. Now, of course, most of us are piano teachers and wondering, okay, well, now how do I use this with my piano students? And one thing that we are very excited about is all of the piano pieces are now included in Piano Maestro. So there's 18 different songs that students learn in the program, 3 per country, and that's with rhythm instrumentation, boom whackers, and piano music. And so you can use any combination of those that you wish. And those songs now, they can play interactively in Piano Maestro. So I am going to switch over to Piano Maestro and show you how that works. So it'll be just a second till I get things changed. There we go. Now, in case we have anybody on here that's new to Piano Maestro is a free smart iPad app for teachers and their connected students. And this really listens to the student, whether they're using an acoustic piano or a digital piano or keyboard. So the music is displayed on the screen while the student plays along to the background tracks. And so let's take a look at the tracks that coordinate with the Are We There Yet curriculum. And we'll find those in the method section. And then we'll go to Are We There Yet? And then we can pick the songs that coordinate with our unit. So for example, one of those from Africa is Everybody Loves Saturday Night. So let me play this one for you and show you how this works. And then I'll show you a couple other options with it as well. Let's see how I did. Not too bad. So this app is for the iPad, and as I mentioned before, it can be used with an acoustic piano or a digital piano. So when I taught this program, the kids could actually go home, and practice their music on their acoustic piano interactively, which was really kind of nice. So they didn't have to have all of the equipment hooked up. There are many practice options that you can use or the students can use. One of them is the tempo. So if they're playing that and it's just too fast, they can control this tempo and start off at a slower speed and then maybe work it up to tempo. They can choose which hand they want to practice, whether it's left or right or both. And they have a hold on method, which is really nice when they're learning to play the pieces accurately. So for example, they would, if the music said it was C and they had the hold on mode and they were playing a D, I would wait for them to play a C. And so this is one of my favorite things to use with my students, because then they're working on the notes accurately at home or in lab, and it allows me more time to focus on some of those things like expression and technique that maybe an iPad can't help me with as easily. So as you saw, the graphics in this program are really cool, and the kids are very, very motivated by earning their scores and working through these game-like levels. It really allows them to stay connected because I can assign them pieces in this app for them to do as part of their practice. It keeps track of the pieces and how long the students play them, and then I get a report on Monday morning saying what everybody has done. So if I had assigned maybe the Africa pieces, I could see on the report who would practice their pieces, how long they spent on each one of them. And it really has been a great tool in my studio, not only for the Are We There Yet program, but for some of their method books and their supplementary music as well. And so if you aren't yet familiar with Piano Maestro, download that. It's free for teachers, and you don't need any kind of wires or cables unless you're hooking it up to a digital piano. And then you just invite your students to connect to you, and then they can use it for free as well. So let's take a look at a couple other songs, and then if there's some questions, I'd be happy to answer some questions for you as well. So let's take a look at, how about, let's do Che Che Kool-Aid since we talked about that one. And I'm just playing this on my piano along with this. Now, students can also share this if they'd like. They can hit share the moment. And sometimes my students like to do this, and they can take a picture of themselves and send it to their parents, and then they get to listen to what they were working on as well. All right, so we have one more Africa song. Brianna's building up points here. Oops, wrong button. Sorry about that.
Is Are We There Yet digital? Totally
One of the questions is, are we there yet totally digital? So the way the curriculum works is it's web-based, so it can be used on a computer. It can be used on an iPad. We don't have it available for a phone, but it's too small, to use. The screen's too small on a phone to use it that way anyway. So that part is digital. There is a section in there where you can print off the passport pages, which are then printed pages, and then the music book. The piano book is a printed book that you can purchase separately, and the accompaniments are also either a download or a CD, depending on which way you would like to use them. So parts of it are digital and parts of it are actually printed. And then again, if you want to use the music in Piano Maestro, that of course is digital. That's a great question. I should have mentioned that earlier. Any other questions that we can answer for you? They're coming in.
What would you say the level of the music in Piano Adventures terms may be?
So the question is, what is the level of piano music that's included in the program? And she wants, or he or she wants us to compare it to the Piano Adventures levels. That must be the method that you teach. The pieces are actually at various levels. There are easier pieces and harder pieces. So you can see like Che Che Coulee, for example, is a little bit easier, but then there's some that are a little bit harder. And they are all leveled by different stars. So you can use this with a variety of students. World music is also taught by rote, because remember, world music is passed down from generation to generation, and they didn't often have written music. And so you can teach pieces that way to your students that are a little bit younger or not quite ready for some of the pieces. Maybe, Deborah, if you have an idea of the levels, maybe you could answer that question for us and compare it to Piano Adventures, what you think maybe the various levels might be, and then we'll answer that question specifically for you in those levels. And if there's anything else you'd like to see in the program, I can certainly show you that, or the music, or any of the other countries I can show you too. So maybe while we're waiting for some questions and Deborah to answer that question, I can show you, for example, our Thailand chapter. So in the Thailand chapter, they're all set up the same, where we go through the people and the places and the maps and the specific geography information, and then into the different music. One of the things that I like most about the program as the teacher using it, of course it took Deborah and I a long time to write this and a lot of late nights. So thank you for that, Deborah. And but when I go to use the program, everything's done. I open it up, I can read the slides. I didn't have to have a background in world music to teach this. You could read what's on the slide to the students and add whatever you would like or whatever you're comfortable adding, but you didn't have to do that research, which was really nice. And Deborah's done a great job of making sure that everything has been done accurately.
She said that there's no other questions, so you can wrap up whenever you want.
Okay. So if there isn't any other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. My email is michelle@keystoimagination.com. So feel free to email me with any other questions you have, and or find me on Facebook. All of this information can also be found on keystoimagination.com, and there is a trailer video there of this program if you'd like to take a look at that. But thank you so much for spending time watching this. I really appreciate that, and hope you guys have a great day.